Hey, what's up, songwriting? It's time to move into our next genre, which is going to be country music. I kind of look forward to this particular genre because I think my students probably have the least amount of experience writing in this specific style. So with all these different genres that we study, what makes those genres sound like themselves? So think about rock music. When you think of a rock song, what comes to your mind sound-wise or instrumentation-wise? Probably maybe like really crunchy, loud guitars. How about hip-hop? What comes to your mind when you think of hip-hop music? It's probably cool drum beats and bass of some type. Well, with country music, what comes to my mind is probably going to be the acoustic guitar first and foremost. This is a pretty stereotypical instrument for country, but I mean, I'm not going to give any percentages, but what percentage of country music do you think contains an acoustic guitar? I mean, it's way up there, right? The cool part about country music is that you don't really realize what's happening in the songs instrument-wise until you see it performed live. They often have like 8 members on stage doing different things. They have an acoustic guitar, probably 2 acoustic 6-string guitars. They have a 12-string. They have a piano player. They have an auxiliary percussionist. They have a bass player. They have a lead guitar player. They have a drummer. They have multiple singers. They might have a fiddle or a banjo or a steel guitar. Maybe I said that already, but the instrumentation is just so wide, and that's one thing I love about it, is all that it takes to make country. And then in its simplest form, let's think about somebody like Hank Williams, who played the acoustic guitar and sang. A lot of times that was how he performed. So instrumentation is one thing, but then there's also a stylistic thing that comes with these genres, right? So in country music, it really depends on what era you're looking at. When I think of country music, the first person I think of is Hank Williams Sr., because he, to me, is just like an iconic country person. I think it kind of all started with him. Do you think of Johnny Cash? Do you think of Johnny Cash's rockabilly? Do you think some of these 60s and 70s country people like Merle Haggard, Charlie Pride, people like that? Do you think of 80s country, Alabama? Some of those hat hunks they called them, George Strait, Dwight Yoakam. Do you think of 90s country, the Joe Diffies, the Diamond Rios? Do you think of the 2000s? What country are you thinking about? Nowadays is a little different. The older country, up until I would say maybe the 2000s, there might be some. Zac Brown Band is a country band who kind of still exercises some of this, but a lot of the country sound, the staple of country music is what they call a root fifth progression. So you've got your chords that you play, but then the root fifth. Does that sound familiar to you? Kind of what I think of when I picture country music, is that root fifth vibe. You can also do that on the guitar if you want to. I've got my trusty steed here. Sorry, I didn't exactly plan for this very much. See. I didn't practice, I'm sorry. But that is stereotypical country sound, right? Not all country music goes like that, and I guess we could have the debate that if you don't have the root fifth in a song, is it still country? Are artists like Morgan Wallen. Friday after 5. Is he country music that? It's Friday after 5, I got here just in time, when I hit and wait a line, for I went and lost my mind. Been here long, but the bomber's in the pond, going up, down, we're going up, down. Like, is that really country music? It's debatable. I don't know. Some people might say, no, that's pop music that fits in the country genre, but other people might say, I don't know. We could have that debate. We can have a Zoom meeting and talk about it. So, instrumentation and delivery, that is a lot of what makes country music country music. So when you are going to write your country songs, I encourage you to use things like the acoustic guitar, because that's going to make your song sound a lot more country. In fact, I probably will require that you use the acoustic guitar in GarageBand. So what do country songs consist of? The reality is they are just like any other genre, and they're all over the place. Rock musicians might talk about an urban setting. Hip-hop musicians might talk about an urban setting like everyday life, where country may talk about everyday life, about somebody who lives in a rural area. You know, you might think of trucks and tractors and livestock and agriculture and things like that. But it's not always about that. It's about cold beer sometimes. Well, isn't every genre? So I don't want you to think that when you're writing a country song, you immediately have to talk about trucks and tractors. Kenny Chesney's She Thinks My Tractor's Sexy is like seriously one of my favorite songs of all time. But you don't have to write about tractors, because country music also writes about things that other genres write about. Love, heartbreak, loss, hope, religious themes. It's all over the place. So when you're writing your country song, I don't want you to think, man, Mr. L, I have no experience on a tractor. I've never even really been around one. It doesn't have to be about that. It can be about something that you've experienced, and it just gets delivered in a way that makes it sound country. It could be that when you get into writing your song, it could be a comical song too. I have had students that had severe writer's block and struggled to write seriously in the country style, and that's okay. That's alright. So they made funny songs about living in the country, primarily because they'd never experienced it, so they made fun of it, which I love living in the country. Like, it's the best. But that person had never got to experience what it was like, had this stereotypical image in it, wrote a song about it. That's fine. Whatever. It's satire. It doesn't really matter. So you can pick what your topic is. As you're writing it, I want you to think to yourself, okay, is this going to be a topic that everybody can relate to, or is this going to be a real specific topic to me? And then finally, what makes country sound like country oftentimes? The way that they sing. A lot of country singers have what would be considered a southern accent, a Texas accent. Maybe, I don't know what states all have accents. I'm really not up on my geography. But that kind of southern style of singing is very prominent. There's a lot of singers that incorporate that style into their singing, and they don't even have that accent when they speak. Keith Urban is a good example of that. Keith Urban is an Australian, and he is a country singer, so when he speaks, he sounds like an Australian guy with his Australian accent, and when he sings, it's more of a country accent. It's pretty interesting. So I think a lot of country singers implement that in order to fit into the genre. And it's not bad, it's a stylistic thing. One of my favorite bands of all time, Green Day, he sounds like he's British, and that's just the style of his music, and it's totally fine. So maybe have a little fun with that. See if you can put in a country-sounding southern accent into your singing. Because you never know. Maybe you'll find your niche. Maybe you'll take off as the next big country star. So as you begin to write the chords for this and come up with a chord progression, I invite you to listen to some country music on the interweb machine. Get into the scene, I guess, is the best word I can come up with. Get into that scene of country music so you can kind of try to emulate that in your own music. Because, let's face it, when we are making music, probably the best way for us to come up with things is going to be to mirror or mimic or imitate or beg, borrow, and steal ideas from people that we enjoy listening to. So, that's my lecture on country music. And stay tuned, and I'll kind of give you some more information on what I'd like from you for your first checkpoint. So hope you all are doing awesome, and we'll see you on the interwebs.